What does emotion look like before it becomes words? Today, we're translating the hidden turbulence of the subconscious into texture, depth, and color. In today's studio journey, we enter one of the most intimate and transformative spaces in abstract painting, the realm of the unseen, where emotion exists before language, before clarity, before even conscious understanding. Painting the unseen, translating hidden emotions into rhythmic texture and color depth, is not merely the creation of a textured abstract artwork. It is an excavation of inner weather, a visual translation of what the psyche feels long before the mind can explain it. Every artist eventually arrives at this threshold, standing before a blank canvas with sensations too complex for words, turbulence without narrative, tenderness without image, pressure without origin. The power of abstraction lies in its ability to bypass literal representation and move directly into this invisible territory, where feeling becomes gesture, texture becomes memory, and color becomes the silent language of the subconscious. As I begin, I submerge the palette knife deep into heavy-body acrylics, loading it with pigment so dense it feels almost geological, as if I am lifting fragments of the earth itself. The first movement across the surface is never about control. It is about release. The knife carves through the white space with jagged certainty, depositing thick ridges of paint that rise like fault lines, each one carrying the weight of unnamed emotion. These early marks are not designed to be beautiful, they are designed to be honest. Honesty in abstraction often arrives through disruption, the refusal to smooth over discomfort, the willingness to let the surface fracture under the pressure of feeling. The palette knife is uniquely suited for this language because it resists sentimentality. It does not caress the surface the way a soft brush might. It scrapes, tears, compresses, and reveals. In those harsh edges and broken deposits, we begin to see the silent rhythms of the subconscious emerge, not as recognizable forms but as pulses of force. One thick vertical ridge may embody restraint, while a diagonal slash of crimson against charcoal may suddenly speak of urgency, conflict, or suppressed fire. What matters is not numbing the emotion, but allowing its energetic structure to take form. This is where the painting becomes a bridge between what is hidden and what can finally be witnessed. As more layers accumulate, the canvas transforms into a field of psychological sediment. Each stratum holds the residue of a moment: hesitation, conviction, doubt, surrender. I press darker pigments into the wet body of earlier layers, letting deep indigos, iron blacks, bruised violets, and mineral greens settle into the crevices like unresolved thoughts sinking into memory. Then, against these jagged tectonics, I introduce fluid glazes, thin, translucent veils of color that drift across the raised textures like breath moving through tension. This interplay between density and transparency is crucial because hidden emotion is rarely singular. It contains contradiction. Turbulence exists beside calm. Anger dissolves into grief. Fear flickers beneath desire. The textured ridges hold the weight of resistance, while the glazes introduce vulnerability, atmosphere, and temporal softness. Together they create a visual pulse, a rhythmic exchange that mirrors the way internal states actually move through us. Never static, always oscillating between compression and release. What fascinates me most in this process is how the painting begins articulating truths I did not consciously intend. A scrape-back passage unexpectedly reveals a buried ochre beneath layers of ultramarine, and suddenly, the entire emotional temperature of the work shifts. What felt cold becomes haunted by warmth. What seemed closed now breathes with memory. This is the gift of intuitive abstraction. It allows the subconscious to collaborate through accident, through layered histories that logic alone would never design. In many ways, the canvas knows before the artist knows. Our task is to remain sensitive enough to listen. This means bypassing technical rigidity, resisting the impulse to make every decision intellectually legible. Technique remains important, of course, but here it must serve intuition rather than dominate it. The moment technical perfection begins silencing emotional truth, the painting loses its pulse. So instead of asking whether a passage is formally correct, I ask whether it feels alive. Does the texture carry pressure? Does the glaze create emotional breath? Does the eye move across the surface the way thought moves through silence, stopping, returning, deepening? These are the questions that shape true abstract depth. The unseen is not revealed through precision alone, but through resonance. As the surface evolves, rhythm becomes the architecture of feeling. Repeated knife marks establish visual beats, like the recurring thrum of thoughts we cannot quite release. A sequence of fractured horizontals might suggest emotional containment, while rising vertical interruptions create moments of tension breaking through. The glazes, in contrast, function like memory or atmosphere, softening the hard assertions of texture without erasing them. This dynamic is what transforms raw, invisible tension into a tangible visual pulse. The viewer may never know the original emotion that generated a particular mark, yet they can feel its rhythm through the painting's structure. That is the miracle of abstraction. It communicates through energetic empathy rather than literal symbol. We respond to the rise and fall of density, the friction between matte and gloss, the way light catches an impasto edge and sinks into a transparent veil. These physical interactions become emotional transmissions. The painting is no longer an image but an encounter. There is also a meditative paradox at the heart of this process. Though the work emerges from hidden turbulence, its resolution often leads towards stillness. The more honestly the surface records conflict, the more profound its eventual harmony becomes. I continue layering, scraping, glazing, and excavating, allowing certain passages to remain unresolved so that the final work preserves the authenticity of its internal struggle. Perfection is never the goal. In fact, too much refinement can sterilize the emotional electricity embedded in the early layers. Instead, I seek coherence through contrast. A brutal ridge of Mars black may remain untouched beside a luminous smoke-gray glaze, because their tension creates the exact emotional complexity the piece requires. Beauty in textured abstraction comes from this coexistence of abrasion and grace. It mirrors the human condition more truthfully than polished surfaces ever could. The deeper I move into the painting, the more it begins to resemble a topography of feeling. Valleys of transparent color recede into contemplative space, while mountainous ridges of heavy acrylic rise forward with tactile insistence. Light becomes an active collaborator, grazing across the knife-built relief and revealing different emotional readings depending on the angle. Morning illumination may emphasize the sharp architecture of tension, while evening shadows soften the same forms into introspection. This shifting experience is essential because hidden emotion is never fixed. It changes as we revisit it, just as the painting changes through light, time, and distance. The work continues speaking long after the final mark is placed. That is why color depth matters so profoundly in this process. Depth is not simply a visual illusion of layers receding into space. It is emotional depth, the sense that beneath every visible decision lies another concealed state, another unresolved memory, another submerged rhythm. By building translucent glazes over textured impasto, I create a surface that seems to hold both immediacy and history at once. The viewer senses that what they are seeing is only the latest manifestation of something much older beneath it. This echoes the way emotion itself functions. What surfaces in the present often carries the sediment of countless earlier experiences. Language inevitably flattens these complexities into labels: sadness, joy, fear, longing. But paint refuses such simplification. Through texture and color depth, it preserves ambiguity, allowing multiple emotional truths to exist simultaneously. This is where the unseen becomes most powerfully present, not explained but embodied, not reduced but expanded. As the composition nears completion, I begin listening for the painting's dominant rhythm, the central pulse that has emerged from all this excavation. Sometimes it is a quiet oscillation between dark and light, compression and openness. Sometimes it is a fierce upward movement, as if hidden resilience has pushed through the surface despite every layer of resistance. Whatever form it takes, The final decisions must honor this pulse. I use the palette knife now with heightened sensitivity, allowing a single precise drag through wet glaze to expose an older layer beneath, creating a line of visual memory that suddenly unifies the entire composition. A subtle veil of translucent umber may settle the chromatic atmosphere, while one final accent of luminous titanium white on a raised edge catches the light like revelation. These last gestures are less about adding information and more about clarifying the emotional frequency already present. The painting tells us when it has arrived, not through perfection, but through resonance, when every texture, every buried color, every transparent drift contributes to a single coherent vibration. For viewers watching this process unfold on your YouTube channel, the deeper invitation is to understand that abstract painting is not about reproducing what the eye sees, but about giving form to what the soul registers in silence. The unseen emotions we carry are rarely neat, rarely linear, and almost never fully translatable into words. Yet through the physical dialogue between palette knife, heavy body acrylic, jagged texture, and fluid glaze, we can create a visual language capable of holding those complexities with extraordinary honesty. This is why intuitive abstraction remains such a profound artistic practice. It grants legitimacy to feelings that resist explanation. It reminds us that tension does not need immediate resolution to possess beauty, and that the subconscious often communicates with greater sophistication through color and rhythm than speech ever can. So as this textured abstract masterpiece settles into its final stillness, what remains is not simply a painting, but a living record of invisible emotion made tangible. Every ridge contains pressure once hidden. Every glaze carries the softness of what could not be spoken. Every shift in color depth echoes the layered nature of human interiority. The canvas becomes proof that what is unseen is not absent. It is simply waiting for the right material language to emerge. In surrendering technical rigidity and trusting the intuitive pulse of texture, we discover that paint can articulate the profound complexities language inevitably fails, transforming silence into rhythm, depth into memory, and hidden feeling into a surface that breathes with life long after the artist has stepped away.